What's good, guys? It's your boy CS. In this video, we are going to take a look at Bitcoin historically and ultimately position ourselves based off history. As I always say to you, history rhymes. This is how I'm positioning myself. As you know, I've got spare fiat ready to buy any kind of dips. So let's just dive in and see whether this is actually the last buying opportunity within Bitcoin itself. So I'll go in a chart which doesn't have too many lines going on, and we'll corroborate that in August, historically, with the 4-year cycles. If you don't know about 4-year cycles of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, then please do your own due diligence on that. For those who are aware, which I'm presuming the majority of you are, during the 2 years of the bull market, at the start of the first year, so this is the first year of the bull market in 2024, 4 years ago in 2020, in August, we saw a dip, right? If I zoom in, this is how it looks. Massive dip. And then we go sideways in September. And then we fly by the time we're in October. Let's take this another step further and let's go to 2016. Again, 2024, 20, and then 16. If we look at August historically, we see a dip, a dip, a dip. And then we go sideways for a bit, and then we fly off in October. And again, I'm not going to be discussing any moon cycles in this video, so we'll defer that to the actual VIP chat. But there is a lot of evidence that suggests history rhymes. And so where are we right now within the cycle? Well, we are here. And if I go onto this chart, which is just concentrate on this yellow line and this yellow line, which is a descending channel, right? We've been conforming to this channel since March. And ultimately what this dictates is that we just bounce across these regions. But eventually this channel has to break and we break structure. And so one could argue that eventually we'll go over, retest, and then go flying, which actually makes sense in October that we could get here. So where are we right now and what can we do? So personally, next week and the week after, if we do see any kind of dips, I'm going to be buying. I'm going to be buying. And truthfully, I think this is, without no moon astrology data, just going off my patterns that I normally look at, this looks like the final dips. And I think this is the final shakeout before we start going actually parabolic and go past the all-time high. As I've just shown you, 4 years ago, 8 years ago, and actually there was in 2012, there's a very similar chart that actually rhymes in August. So every single cycle, this rhymes. What do you need to do? Have patience. Again, if you've not bought and you're waiting to buy, well, look, if I look at some chart patterns here on the local time frame, we have come back into this rising wedge pattern, right? And ultimately, if this breaks structure and we come out, we are going to see a retrace all the way down here. I know that sounds absolutely crazy to see where we're at right now, but usually when you measure breakouts on this kind of structure, you go from the bottom of the wedge, so from here to, let's say, there. That's about a 9.7% decrease, right? So if I measure it from, let's say it goes from here, 9.7%. It would take us around here, right? Around this region, the 54K region, right? That's where it would. It depends where we break out from. We could break out higher, but that's a bearish sentiment that I want you guys to be aware of, because I've seen this rising wedge on a lot of bearish charts. And look, it does corroborate. We've actually come back in and we could see some downwards movement. I'm not saying that's guaranteed, but I'm saying position yourselves accordingly. Put your buy limits in accordingly where you need to be if we do hit there, because that will be a beautiful retrace, right? If we look at another chart, which is more bullish, you could say this is a falling wedge. And right now, we're bouncing off it. If we do come down, we might have to come down here. That's another chart to be aware of on the local time frame. And then we've also got this symmetrical triangle, which again is a bullish continuation chart, which might suggest that we might just go break out, might do a little retest and then go flying, right? So what I'm trying to get you guys to do while we're on this Saturday, right, is position yourselves accordingly. Honestly, this is one of the hardest. And look, the fear and greed is actually at neutral, right? And a lot of people have got bullish sentiments. A lot of people have bearish sentiments. I can't tell you for sure because as a chartist myself, all the charts are showing bullish and bearish patterns, right? You've got symmetrical triangle, you've got falling wedge, you've got a rising wedge. All of these patterns are within one another. So it's very hard to determine. And look, now we're at the 1 hourly, we're bouncing off as support. If we break structure, then we want to retest the 50 and the 200 EMA. If we go into the 4 hourly, we still haven't broken that turquoise 100 EMA ribbon. We actually tried it. So we broke once, twice, 3. And the longer we normally stay here, right? The longer we normally stay here usually indicates weakness, that Bitcoin can't actually break it. But also, if we don't see an impulse move down to the downside, it also suggests that there isn't much traction from the bears. And so I think what we're waiting on, ideally, is to see who's getting trapped here. Is it the bears getting trapped or is it the bulls getting trapped for liquidation purposes? Because one way or the other, this is going to break out. Either breaks out to the downside or the upside, right? Because you've had many people longing from here. Long. Even people here, long. Where are the triggers of the liquidations? Because at the end of the day, in order for you to make impulse moves up, you got to remember all of this was resulting in shorts trying to short the market, and they were getting wrecked. This by far was one of the most bullish candles I've ever seen in Bitcoin. 11.89% on the day. That's crazy to me. That is absolutely crazy. I'm also, like I said, this historically is a massive resistance zone at the 60.7, 60.8K region. Unless Bitcoin can flip it this week, we might see further downside, as in like super bearish downside. But in my opinion, just because of where we're at historically, look, if it hits 58K, I'm buying. If it hits 55K, I'm buying. If it hits 54, 52, I'm buying. If it goes to 50 and 48, I'm buying. Call me crazy, but if you're a spot buyer, you should definitely be buying this. If you're a leverage long person, this is a bit more difficult. And again, it's hard for me to say DCA in here without going max balls to the wall, right? Because I am still a bit skeptical, because obviously I've got in here on Brett at 0.06, right? And so it's very, very difficult for me to go and say, yeah, leverage long, because I don't want to see you guys get wrecked. And obviously this is not financial advice. This is just what I'm doing. But if I'm going to be creating another account for Brett, or I go balls to the walls on my existing long, these are regions that I'd be looking at for Brett. And you know what, just very, very quickly, I will go on Brett for you guys, even though this is not a Brett video. We've got the 0.79 level, 0.67 level, and then if it does really get dirty, we've got the 0.04 level. And you've got to remember, now this has turned into also a, look at the white lines, yeah? This is a falling wedge. We could come and retest down here next week. We may not, but I'm just saying it's on the cards. We've also got some type of weird, if you use this white line and you use this support trend line, you could technically say this is some weird fucked up symmetrical triangle, as messed up as it is. And so we could even just bounce off the yellow line. And that would also be a strong line of support. Now, I don't want to get into Brett too much, as I said, because I want to focus on Bitcoin and where Bitcoin goes, because that's the granddaddy at the end of the day. And we need to focus on where that's going. Let's see how it closes by tomorrow. But be watching the chart like a hawk. You need to keep your eyes peeled on the hawk, because if we do see some downside, some real downside, I do feel like it's going to get ate up. Like everything's getting ate up very quickly here, but I feel like they're getting trapped, these longs. I could be entirely wrong. But the rising wedge pattern that we've now come back into, yeah, we sure could hit 61, 62. We could even come up here, but we could also fall very heavily because all these longs are getting trapped. Conversely, the shorts could be getting trapped here. I am very much neutral in this position. And like I said, as a chartist, there's too many chart patterns here to suggest on the local timeframes that it's just not a very safe option to go full balls deep, long or short here for me on any kind of leverage position now. And so I'm going to be waiting for the chart to do its thing, for the market to do its thing, and to see where we end up ultimately.